G'day everyone, this is Expand the Phantom podcast. Our website is chroniclechamber.com and you can subscribe to our podcast via YouTube or through your favourite podcast apps. Do not forget to give us a rating on your podcast app and tell a mate about us. This is episode 238, our December 2022 Comics and News podcast. Do not forget to vote in your Best of Frew 2022 survey. There are prizes galore. Alright, hear the music. G'day everyone, Merry Christmas, it's December. I'm Steve and I'm joined today by both Jermayn and Dan. We've both got our Christmas hats on. I've got, of course, the purple, from Australia and America. Jerm, you've got your green. Where's that one
which
from?
is also Australia. These were given to us from a Patreon subscriber to give us the theme. There was a blue one, which was for Dan, as he's the biggest Swedish fan out here. And Dan, good to see you wearing your blue one.
It must be just coincidence. I genuinely can't find it. Maybe I genuinely threw it in the bin. I don't know. It's not around. But anyway, I've gone with red for El Fantasma from Brazil and Fantomen from France as well. So what the heck?
Wasn't he also from Italy? Wasn't he red in Italy as well?
It was also read in USA for one of the Big Little books as well.
Oh,
well, so there you go. I'm being more international than either of you. You're actually quite niche little old school Australian rusted on focused colour there, Jim. Really?
Yeah, the good old women's mirror. Need a grey one to keep Glenn Lumsden happy.
Well, if we're talking Christmas, I'm loving this time of year.
Yep. It is the most wonderful time of the year. Good old Christmas. And I said it just before the music started, but as is now tradition with Chronicle Chamber, we do have our Best of Frew vote or Best of Frew survey. Stacks of prizes up for offer. So please check out the survey, vote for your favourite stories, and you could be in the running to win a Frew Crew badge. Plus,
Chronicle Chamber merch.
Yeah.
Have you looked at some of the results? I guess we'll quickly go through it while we're talking about it.
No spoilers, mate. No, I don't want to be telling people what the results are.
No results. No.
How about suggest some progress or some interesting ones?
No progress.
No.
We can discuss, but not for public.
Yep.
Oh. I wanted to talk about the collector's replica that was up in the top echelon of favourite covers for the year.
Yeah, I better move on quickly before Germs put a few more spoilers up there. Okay, so there's two Frew publications that have come out since our last episode. Frew 1933, which has The Missing Link by Michael Thierry's, Felmang and Anthony Benny. And there's a little bonus story that comes after the letters to the editor, which I didn't realise until I'm looking at this and I think, I didn't see that little story. Where the hell is that little story? Then
I love that little story. Should we talk about the little story first?
Well, yes, because just as we're getting ready to set up, and you guys were still having a chat, I was trying to think, well, I better read that story before we get going because I missed it, and I didn't have to read much. It was just a fun little story. Poor old Garan, he's a bit not thirsty. He's a bit hot in the jungle riding. I'm going to assume that's Jumba.
Yeah.
Goes for a swim. And that's just a fun little,
not fun for Garan, who's half strangled to death and then gets mouth to mouth by an elephant. But yeah, I do.
It's fun for us to read.
It was fun.
It was fighting the snake that really did for him.
Yeah, no. So these are some of the. I think they're called. I think they're Phantom's World or the World of the Phantom. Little. There's a series of about 8 or 10 of these little 1, 2, 3, 4 page stories that Team Fantomen released probably 3-4 years ago. And they are all about secondary, third level characters and just having a little bit of a side story with them. Like there's one where
telling us this like 100 podcasts ago.
Yeah, well, this is the second one that Frew's released of these short stories. There's another one where Diana goes aboard a ship and then blows it up or something because it's gun smuggling or something like that as well. So, There's another one where Heloise goes into a cafe or a restaurant and gets with one of her friends and gets what's the word? Tries to get picked up and the bloke's a little bit too friendly, and so then Heloise smacks him and punches him out and stuff like that. So they're just, look, I enjoy them. For something like this where, you can have a page of forum letters, an extra 2 pages of comics, and then you've got, 3 or 4 pages of adverts. I think it's great. I really enjoyed it.
It's a nice little addition there. It filled the pages up that needed to be filled.
Yeah,
I would have liked to see them in colour.
Anyway, I was just going to say, one of the things I really liked about it, and you're right, it would be nice to see it in colour, and we're going to talk about colour, I'm sure, when we go through the Christmas special. But one of the things I really liked about it is it was a complete surprise. I really loved that. There was no hint of it on the front. There was nothing in the message from the publisher to suggest it was coming. I was halfway through reading the forum letters. I thought, because I'd read the first page, flicked over to read what is usually the second page, and boom, it was a little moment of phantom joy, I'm going to say. It was really cool. So that's why we should not have spoilers on things, Germs, and tell people ahead of time to see it as a surprise.
It is also worth noting that the writer, Alan Sonne, is actually Mikkel Sol. It's kind of like a pen name he came up with for that as well. So, yeah.
Well, talking about pen names, the author of the main story, Michael Cherries, we all know is
Claes Ramifi.
There we are.
And then Felmang's not his real name either, so it's full of pen names. But look,
to be associated with the Phantom.
I don't know about you. I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoyed this issue. I enjoyed Dangerous Waters, and then the story. It reminded me of my childhood in the sense that this was originally created, in 1993, and it's, in my opinion, it's Felmang at his best, which was in the late 80s, early to mid 1990s, and that was his peak. That was when I loved his stories, and when I used to pick up the comics from the newsagent, I used to get off the bus early and then walk, and then go to the newsagent and then walk home. And by the time I got home, walking, while dodging traffic and stuff like that, I used to be able to finish the comic, and I just remember so many good memories. Didn't matter if it was raining, or 40-degree days, I would still do it. And yeah, I just remember have so many good memories of seeing Felmang's art like that. I really enjoy that type of artwork.
He really is synonymous with that time, I reckon. And when we're first getting into the Phantom at that the early 90s or mid 90s when I started collecting, and it's very unique's probably not the right word, but you can definitely pick out a Felmang as soon as you read. Oh, that's Felmang, and you're right. And that period was he was really on song, and same here in this issue. I can't knock the art at all. I think the art is awesome. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's probably hit a sweet spot for all of us as teenagers in 1993, or maybe just a bit younger, Jim. Maybe you were still in nappies. I don't know, but not if you're walking home from school. But for there was a real nostalgia value to this comic, which for me, I mostly only get with Barry's and Moores and McCoy art. And it was so good to have that nostalgic feel with a story you've never read before. Like, it's never been published in Australia before. And so to read a brand new story that's in a style that takes you back like what you've described, Jim, is just really, really cool.
And it was a nice follow-up to the to 1932, the Missing Link story, Cy Barry and Lee Falk. Same sort of premise, having this this missing link between humankind and the apes, but very much its own story.
Yeah, no, I thought the story was fun as well. Like it's nothing flame dangled and amazing, but I thought the other advantage was the fact that seeing it was a few extra pages, you kind of had that little bit at the start where you can learn about the characters and how he's fooled, people and stuff like that. So I thought it was nice to be able to have that, 2, 3, 4 extra pages where you were able to have that focus, because it was back when you had more pages.
What about you, Dan? Did you like the longer length?
Yeah, I did. I like the bit of extra exposition and character descriptions.
Development. I think that was the word I should have used.
Yeah. It does. It makes for a fuller story. And I guess because of that nostalgic value, and Claes Ramethi, even when he was Michael Tierres, he does know his Phantom. That's why, I badmouth him sometimes because of the times he deliberately bends some branches in the Phantom tree, if you like, if you know what I mean. But he's early days, especially, he was really true to form, true to fork, and pushed the boundaries, but in ways that expand on what you already believed about the Phantom character and stuff. And he just uses so many tropes in here about the well, box 7. It's just, it really is the Phantom. It couldn't be any other character. And Felmang, as always, I love his art.
No.
And a few more pages of that's never a bad thing.
Exactly.
With me, now it could be because I was reading it late at night, but I felt it was dragging towards the end. I actually fell asleep. That's why I was a little bit late coming to the podcast. I'd fallen asleep by the end of it.
You're only allowed to fall asleep during the podcast, not before, Steve.
Yeah, well, I was enjoying the story, but then I just felt it dragging. Now, it could be I was just tired. It's been a long day, but maybe I'll read it again tomorrow and everything will be fine. But yeah, where you are now on the screen, I had to reread that page about half a dozen times, I reckon, before I could move on, because I couldn't get past it.
I guess what you're saying is they found the treasure twice on page 25, and then they found treasure twice, and so did they really need to find the treasure twice? It's the Phantom Underground fighting the Snake is 1.5, 2, 3, it's 3.5, 4 pages of him being in there. If it was a 22-page story, that might have been 1 page or 2 pages. So I can see where you're coming from.
And did I skip through the part about the tribes that worship the monkeys? They come and attack. We hear about them, but then that's all we see. We don't see anything else about them.
No, there's not really the tribes. Don't really come and.
So you've got some editing point notes, and you could probably truncate it by 4 or 5 pages, Steve.
Yeah, and why is he's just there in the museum? Just what is he talking to himself? The story, just use it.
No, it's like he's remembering it. Flashbacks.
Find out about Mr. Walker.
It reminds me of the old Team Fantomens used to do it quite a lot, where Rex and Tom would do something, and then that would be the gateway of
why that I can understand.
But this is just a variation.
If they could find that missing link skull in the treasure room, and then they could start the story off that way. Why does he have to be running through the rain and through the museum and then go?
Well, he goes to the museum to go undercover. Yeah, I thought it was. To be honest, I actually thought it was better having a variation than the normal of Rex and Tom. Oh, look, goody! Let's go through the major.
Actually, until I fell asleep, I agreed with you. It was just because I fell asleep towards the end. I think.
I thought
why is this thing so bloody long?
Part of the microwave generation can't handle a good old story.
Anything else you want to talk about? The cover. I forgot to mention the cover. Felmang. Yeah, that looks like a Felmang.
Yeah, it's Felmang. Now, has anyone else got 2 staples in their comic? Because the comic I have actually only has the 1 staple down the bottom, and then the staple at the top does not exist. It hasn't even been punched. I wonder if I should show that to to Trevor and whether that will make it worthwhile, make it worth more to Trevor Clark.
I was going to ask you reckon this is a vintage 93 Felmang drawing as well, or has he done a new one?
I reckon it's a new one, and I say that because if you look at the way he does the Phantom in the last probably 5 years, and you look at all the covers, if you go onto Fandom Wiki and look at all his covers in the last 5 years, it looks like he's using markers with the way he paints the purples. And so I reckon this is a new cover. I can't see a year on it. I was actually talking.
If there's a year on it, it'll be underneath the new First Time in English from Felmang, because that's where the signature is.
Yeah. I was actually talking to a fan about Felmang. Was it yesterday or the day before? All the days kind of merged together. Now he had some criticism for Felmang, which my jaw dropped on the ground, and by the time I picked it up, I told him that it's sacrilege, and not sure I never want to speak to him ever again. But he made mention that the Phantom's face is always the same, and he never uses expression in his face. When he's fighting the snake, he opens his mouth a little bit, but he's got a point in that Felmang has the Phantom's face kind of static. It reminds me a bit of Wilson McCoy. So I just thought that was interesting to kind of raise up. Everyone's kind of flicking through to see if they also can pick it up.
Yeah, you're largely right. Top right corner of page 17, his mouth's open a little bit, but you are very much. It is.
And you see the amount of expression in all the other characters' faces, but the Phantom is very neutral.
Well, if you look at someone like Cy Barry in his heyday with the smiling Phantom, Jeff Weigel does a lot of facial expressions with his Phantom as well, with the extra lines and around the cheeks and the mouth and all that. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting to kind of point that out.
Yeah, there is a few when you really go through and look panel by panel. It's probably about 20%. He's got that little mouth open, teeth bared. But the rest of it is largely very static, like you say. But as Steve's pointed out, it's not like he can't draw expressions. Every other character is wrapped with them. So it's a deliberate decision, and it probably is part of, the Phantom is stoic. He is static. His face, nothing gets to him. He's always, I wouldn't be surprised if that's in Felmang's head as he's doing that.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was worth. It was a good point that he raised. Like I said, I was very offended when he said he didn't like Felmang.
Is it that he doesn't like? Was it that he didn't like Felmang, or just didn't like his way to do?
I think he doesn't like Felmang because of that, and Felmang's he was one of the favourite fandoms that I grew up on, so I've got a soft spot for Felmang.
In defence of Felmang, as I just said, I was sort of flicking through panel by panel. There are really subtle variations. It's true. He's largely blank face, but there are a lot of subtle variations. I reckon.
Yeah, very, very good point. But we'll move on.
Okie dokie. So the next Phantom issue, or Frew issue, I should say, actually hasn't come to my comic shop yet.
It hasn't come over to WA as well. We've had some mail shortages, and with all the floods, and had some more railway.
Have you had floods over there?
No, with the floods that's happening over your side, it's caused all delays with all the mail still comes by most of the time via rail. Yeah, by monkey mail. So I haven't got it yet, but I've got the stories, so we will go through the stories. You've got it there, Dan. Do you want to?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I feel very special that I've actually got mine. It arrived yesterday. Via Monkey Mail. Thank you very much, free subscriptions.
Is there anything else, anything besides the stories that you want to quickly mention, Dan? And I've got you as well, so you can kind of show the cover while you're talking.
Look, it really is literally message from the publisher, start of the first story, end of the Where are we? Last page, one Frew ad, two Frew ads. It is cover to cover story. And I guess the thing that I missed from this, which I picked up on when I was reading a few other Christmas specials recently, is that a lot of them did have splash pages for the start of the next story, and it would have been nice to see those. Understand why, it's 100 pages and chockers, so I can understand why they've decided to put their ads in rather than a couple of splash pages. It's fair enough. But yeah, that's other than that. Look, the actual quality of the book. I should have.
What's the paper like and the color?
Yeah, no, it's really good. Like the dark scenes, the night scenes, probably a bit.
Look like they've come up all right.
Yeah, it's a lot better than we've seen at other times. There's another sequence from the day strip that's all set in night. If you're on YouTube, you can see as I'm flicking through these, as showing the guys for the first time. But there's no printing issues or anything like that. I certainly wouldn't call it muddy. Look at that's the title of the first page. The shades of sunset have come out really well, I think. So,
regarding what you were talking about with the extra pages, the splash pages, would you pay an extra 50 cents? I'm assuming that's what an extra 8 pages will be for, because I think I've seen 108 pages before, because I think they go up in 8s or something like that. So would you pay an extra 50 cents for 8 pages, which has got a title page and then maybe another short story like we saw with Dangerous Waters, or even
this time there was that. Was it a Dean Rankin? It was certainly in one of the Christmas recently. There was a short Dean Rankin, similar, story about animals. Look, if you could, but I guess at the end of the day, the other thing you need to be aware of is the sticker price is $13. Now, for the purposes of the New Year's podcast, which will come up soon, I've been reading the 2013 Christmas special today, and it was $6.50, exactly half the price only 9 years ago. So it has gone up quickly. And at $13, look, of course I would pay an extra 50 cents, but I'm in a position where I've got a full-time job and pretty stable and all the rest of it. There'd be people who are starting to get priced out at $13, let alone anything more. So
you also got to remember, I think in the last 2 years, I know over in WA, the inflation has gone up by 8%. And
of course.
Christmas special back then, 9 years ago, that wasn't in colour as well. So
and it was about half the weight. The quality of the paper is significant when you get out to this. And I should have grabbed it, but anyway, you'll see if you watch the YouTube version of our next podcast, you'll see me do a thickness comparison, and this one's also twice as thick, but also still just 100 pages. So it really is. It's a significant difference in quality of book.
No, I've really noticed a difference in the last couple of issues. Like I read 1932 as well as 1933 today. And the thickness of the paper is very noticeable. I thought I was turning 2 pages at once. I really had to double check that.
It's beautiful. I love it.
In 1934, we've got Vigil at Phantom Head by Tony DePaul and Jeff Weigel. So that's, of course, a Sunday story. And then we have 2 dailies. We've got The Reunion by Tony DePaul and Mike Manley. And Then Came Town's Ellerbee by Tony DePaul and Mike Manley.
And for those who have not necessarily read the comic yet, but might vaguely remember reading the Sunday strip as it came through, it's the detective who's stuck in the water cage is how it starts.
Yeah, so look, this is the story here. Look, I really enjoyed this story. I love the grandma and the little dog, Bunny. What I loved most about this story was how it tied in Emperor Jonker, and it enabled some... And this is one of the things that I like about what Tony DePaul's doing is, as you go on, which I'll actually flick through it now, and then I'll go back. So here we go, where it's talking about, in both stories, in a lot of the stories, I think it's like about in 8 of the previous times this is mentioned, it's both been a tiger and a lion that the Phantom rescued from Jonker. And so during this adventure, Tony DePaul was able to put to bed that contradiction. And for anyone like me who likes to iron out all these little wrinkles and stuff like that, it's really good in that sense. But I really liked liked Yusuf, the detective. I thought he's a really good character. I'd like to see more of him. But I just thought the whole story, it was really enjoyable. And Tony's, what I also like is that he's being able to create and develop secondary characters that are enjoyable to follow. And I hope we see this detective again.
Well, knowing Tony, there's every chance that we will see him again.
I was just going to say, here's an example of the fandom with extra facial lines and expressions and all that, which we were talking about, that you wanted me to go back a page. This one?
Yeah, just when we see the seventh Phantom sitting at these Chronicle desks, Jeff Weigel's gone to type at the moment with his depiction of the seventh Phantom's costume. It's obviously a Phantom costume, but it's saggy around the neck, whereas that's not how it would have been portrayed for probably 85 years of the Phantom's history.
Yeah, he's definitely making it his. So Jeff has introduced this in the stories, which has never been seen before, and then he's also introduced these title panels here, which I've got enlarged, which is a new one for each Sunday story. That's two huge changes that I reckon no one else would have even had the guts to do. So
yeah, well, it's always a challenge going taking steps away from what the holy trinity of Phantom artists did before him. So
I can get behind the total square. I'm not fully behind the change of costume.
Not convinced?
No, I'm with you, Stephen. I'm not there yet.
Well, that one was quite subtle.
Yeah, anything else about the story?
Yeah, just the panel in the bottom right there. You can actually see if you zoom in.
After Sigh.
The Jeff has written after Sigh. And what I think he's done really beautifully for me here is copy size style. This is not, if you saw that, that's Cy Barry's drawing. But Jeff has done it. It's after Sigh. He hasn't traced it. And the next page, the next, it's on the same page in the book, but the next page here has three more of those images, all taken from that original Cy Barry story, all swipes, if you like, but he's called them after Cy. I just think that's a really clever way of telling the Chronicles tale by actually bringing those of us who have read it before back into that nostalgic world, which we all love about the Phantom, I think. But also introduces new readers to older art and even distinguishes the two stories from each other, so with the artistic style being so different.
Just going back to this one here, for those who don't know, but whenever Jeff, again, if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see this, puts a little asterisk next to his name, that means that this one is actually an original. Whether he's still got it or not, but he's drawn originally with ink. So that would actually be a good one to buy, because it's got Phantom in every single panel. Plus, it's got the Cy Barry, with it as well. So that one's not original.
Interesting.
Going back to After Sigh, I think I've seen that technique done a few times. I think I've even seen it done in the day. I could be completely wrong, but I'm sure I've seen it before, where an artist, in a callback scene, a flashback scene, will draw it in the style of Sigh or whoever was. And even even if it wasn't
Shane Foley's done it in his, what do you call it? In his Scorpio stories.
Yeah. I think it's a great technique and really helps to set the different eras, if you like, or really set the flashback.
Yeah,
you can have your wavy lines, but it really draws the reader back to another time.
And it's a homage as well. Like it's it's and I was having this discussion with someone today, this morning, sometime in the last couple of days, about like artists not being credited back then, but now it's like Jeff's used 4 panels, and in every single panel he's got after Sigh. There's a real respect with with past artists and stuff like that now, and I think it's really good.
Something I'm interested about, Dan, like especially with you were talking about the night scenes in the book before, and we've just had a few night scenes there. How do these scenes that we're seeing now with Germs put up, how do they match up with the book?
So we're pretty
This
good.
one here is quite graphic.
So what? Where are we? Yeah,
Are
that's
those
this
vibrant
page.
in the book as they are?
No, I think they are. I really think they are. It takes the print. Yep. I think the Girk Lawman defends himself panel, which is on page 28 in the book, the 1st of October 2021. If you're looking through it, other means, but that the shading of the red, the red and the blue to black, it's all just as good in the book as it is on the page, I reckon.
And then there's a couple of pages. I like this one here as well. The police, I guess, the person, what's the commissioner, that's who she is, says, hang on, is there a second man? There's some of the men have got a strange mark. And she goes, oh, look, it's happened. Let's just leave the report as it is, So I kind of like that as well. And the other thing that I liked about this story is I really like this in the background, but one of the things I really like about the story is the element, and this is one of the laws that we've touched upon in the Phantom Bible, but the law of the Phantom is not known by everyone, that he stays in the shadows. We're not sure if he's real or not real, and like that whole element is kept alive in this story.
There's such a context to the story of the commissioner, though, isn't it? Because she must, you get the feel from these 8 panels or whatever it is, that she gets these reports all the time of a mysterious second man and a photo of a skull mark, or reports of, and she knows, she's seen it well enough now to go, well, we don't need to ask any more about that. It is what it is. Let's move on.
Yeah.
No one's going to tell me.
Yeah.
I wonder if I don't know, maybe this is a story that someone can explore or something like that, but I wonder how, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but I wonder if a good criminal defense lawyer could argue a person out of their charge because of.
Let's just keep it to a nice, fun story, mate. Let's not get.
But no, I just wonder if, like, if a lawyer could argue that, and maybe that's, maybe that could be a story or something.
He tends to make sure there's plenty of evidence around where they're found. So,
any lawyers who have just had, or criminal lawyers who just happen to be listening and can answer Jerm's question there, please get in contact with us. chroniclechamber@gmail.com. You can hit us up on the socials, but I'm sure that we get far too many other people putting their 2 cents in. All right, next story, we've got the reunion.
When I first read it, I didn't enjoy it as much, but I was reading it tonight, and I actually really enjoyed this story.
Can you give us a quick synopsis, Jerm? Because I haven't read it in 2 years.
So for those who haven't read it yet, came in late, the Phantom gets a mysterious letter from Kenya, Nairobi, from a lady called Ashrama Raya. They kind of figure out that it's an anagram for Emira Sahara, who of course is the nomad's wife and the mother of Heloise's friend Cardia. So basically they get back in touch. They connect Cardia with her mum, and it's just really interesting. I liked here about how, like, the Phantom gets his gun back. He says, because in the last time they met, she stole his guns, which is probably a little bit embarrassing for him, for the Phantom. But it's a good tie-up. There's a lot more character development with Cardia. When I first read it, I thought, I'm not quite sure how Cardia's reacted, how she reacts to seeing her mum. But rereading it tonight, I actually really liked it, and I think I like Cardia more as a person after rereading it tonight because she's really turned away from her father's and family legacy. And this panel here is quite clever. You got the big one, and then you got the small one, which is on the 29th of August. Anything you want to add, Dan?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because the reunion is obviously, as you've said, Cardia and her mum, it's a really interesting relationship between Indra and the Phantom because of the way that she was rescued and all the rest of it. She's not sure whether to be in debt to him or not, or what the deal is, and there's a lot of questions around who sent him to help me, who are the walkers, all that sort of stuff. Towards at the end, and it is only a much shorter story. I'm not sure how many weeks it would have gone to, but it's a little filler story, really, in the context of this book. And then obviously, well, not obviously, but towards the end there, it turns out that Indra is probably keen to go and keep living the lifestyle she had before, basically living off the blood money of a terrorist. And as Germ said, Cardi's wants nothing to do with it and disowns her mum, basically, to conclude it. And what was probably really not shocking, but it's a really interesting development in the last 2 pages of the story, or from, I guess, the 17th of October, sort of middle of October, towards the end, is the way that Diana starts to actually push for Kit Jr. to come home and meet Cardia because she thinks that they could be a really good match for each other. So that's
this is what you're talking about here,
yeah. So it's not a massive action story. Any of the action that's there is sort of just a flashback panel here and there.
Even when Cardia shows more action in the Phantom by when she throws the bottle at her mum's car.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a soap opera type story. Keeps the continuity going without having a massive adventure spoil the ability to get through some narrative, I suppose.
Yeah, it really. Again, we've talked about it before, where Tony develops the characters. So we get more development, I think, in Diana. There's a few times where she kind of throws a barb at the Phantom, like, "Oh, have you quit mansplaining?" Or because you were doing that, you can now cook dinner. And so there's a bit of that where she's showing her mother's instinct, which, we're married to mothers who would, we all know how that happens. And then you've got a lot of development in Cardia. I reckon she's going to take over the mantle of the Nomad. And then I think Cardia will marry Kit, and then that will be, they'll get together, and then that will test her allegiances more. And then there's going to have to be the time when Cardia learns the truth about the Phantom and the Walker family.
Well, Diana would say in the last panel of this, she foretells that.
Yeah.
The very last panel of the story, her last lines, she's destined to spend her life with us, Kit, to know our secrets.
Yeah. And I love this where he's just like, "Oh, just let me sleep," and he just falls asleep on her.
I think Mike Manley's done really well with the lighting here, because clearly we can see her face. She's looking the exact same way as the Phantom, but somehow his face is completely in shadow. So I'm not sure what the windows in the skull cave are.
Yeah. No, look, and then I like how he's snuck that third little panel of, like, so you're going away, which is, like the nice ending, which is what they do in movies and stuff like that. So he's done that quite well as well. And I'm sure we've all been there where the wife is still talking and you're going, and then you just give up and just go to sleep, and she's still talking. Do you remember the stories?
Oh, Steve? Yeah, I remember. And as you were flicking through it, yes, I remember this. Because when you first said with What's Her Face, Sahara, we've already had the rescue comic. No, this is that other one. I was completely forgot. But as you were going through it and discussing it, and you're flicking through all the panels, and there was a couple of panels there, and I've just gone, oh no. We could talk about all this great stuff that Tony and Mike have been doing, but when you've got the fan drinking red wine, it's a no. That's a no deal. That's You're talking about safety before, yes, of course you can't have a glass of milk with that nice dinner. Have a glass of water.
Yeah, I must
Not
admit,
red.
I'm with you on that one. That the fan should not drink wine, even when he's just with his wife.
No, he's a teetotaler.
Yeah,
you're a tough crowd.
Yes. So next one is then came Towns Ellerbee,
which does follow directly on. Like, this is the very next story, but it has nothing to do with that other continuity.
So for those who have come in late, this is kind of like the sequel to the Mexican stories, which have been published quite a while ago, and Shatki has recently published as well.
They're the wrestling ones, the Lucha Libre stories?
Yeah, exactly.
They're named in here somewhere.
On the 28th of, what's that, October? Yeah.
A Dente with Crime and the Den of Tigers and Mexico's Phantom.
I think they were released in Shatki 3, 4, and 5. I know we have a lot of Indian listeners as well, so this is actually the sequel to those. Yeah, do you remember this story? Have you read this story, or?
Oh, I read it, but it was back in the paper, once again, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I did too, and as I said, I got about halfway through it tonight before it was time to turn on and jump in the meeting. So, look, I wasn't super enamored with this story, to be honest. I'm looking forward to reading it properly in the book, because I do find, and I'll say the same every time a newspaper strip gets published in comic book form, I do enjoy reading them in the book form more than the strip daily sort of thing. So I'll reserve judgment, but I remember at the time not being super fast, not necessarily able to follow it, because sometimes you jump in every second or third day and it gets away from you. Anyway, yeah.
I'm not sure if this is right or whether this is a colorist issue or whatever, but we've got here a remote border crossing into fascist Rhodia. So in the newspaper stories, Rhodia is still fascist, which is racism. Coloureds aren't really given power and stuff like that. And then here we've got a coloured soldier, carrying an AK, who's actually an official Rhodian soldier and all that. So I will admit my history is not the best, but I wonder whether that is actually should be a coloured man or whether it should have been actually a white man.
Fascist doesn't necessarily equal racist. It often has.
But Rhodia is racist, like all the it's basically South Africa. That's where it was designed from. So look,
but don't say South Africa now. Let's say
apartheid era.
Apartheid
era South Africa. That's when Rhodia was first. Now, look, you guys may know a little bit more about that than me, but were coloureds allowed to be soldiers in apartheid South Africa?
I'm not sure.
I actually taught South African history for a period of time 20 years ago, and I don't recall that, but it certainly wouldn't necessarily surprise, because the South Africans differentiated, like coloureds were different to blacks, and there was lots of different levels. They were all both different to Asians and all treated differently. So it wouldn't surprise me if coloureds for in South Africa, apartheid era, had been allowed to be police officers, particularly in black communities. But anyway, I'm speaking with a loose knowledge, and I'm sure there's plenty of people listening who, I don't know how many, but what's our South African audience share is exactly, but I'd be interested to know if particularly any South African listeners who may be able to shed a bit more light on that. I'd be interested to hear. Well, if it's been happening for what this is still a year and a half ago, 2020, so 2 years ago, and happening still today, maybe there has been that change in the comics.
I must admit, I didn't really enjoy this story either, which is what you raised. I don't know why I didn't enjoy it though.
I don't know whether I'd need to go back and read the originals again.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to plan to do, is read those earlier Mexican ones,
Yeah.
and then read this. That was my idea.
Yeah, might make more sense then.
Hmm.
I didn't realize that Tony was such a wrestling fan.
The Phantom here on an earlier panel, he's rotated the rings, so it looks like I wouldn't say it's a wedding ring because it's on the wrong finger. Yeah.
So he doesn't
Right
leave
in
a
the
mark
early
on the
stages.
fascist.
Yeah.
So, and then he's got it there again. So yeah, no, it's just a nice little hint there as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact page now. It'll be on page 63. The date is the 17th of November. You actually see the Phantom turn his ring inside out to avoid leaving a skull mark.
And Dan, you're loving the cover.
We're not going to the cover, are we, Steve?
No, I was waiting for you to say that at the start when we first began all this, but then you just didn't. I thought, oh, rightio. But it looks like a pretty cool cover to me there, Dan. What can you tell us about this cover? Who's it by? What's it got on it? For those people who aren't watching on YouTube.
Yes. It's a Giancarlo Caracusa image, and it's a Christmas themed picture, which I love. We got Phantom holding a Santa sack with I'm going to say not the skull, not the skull he swears the oath on, because that might be sacrilegious, but he's got a little skull with a Santa's hat on it. Does beg the question where he might have got another skull from and why he's carrying that around. But and surrounded by holly, and the back cover's got holly all over it as well. So lovely,
maybe it's Saint Nick from the Phantom's Vault.
Could well be. Is he in the league
the
missing men, Vault of Missing Men?
Vault of Missing Men, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I really like it, and Christmas cover seems to have become a thing I talk about. I don't know how that happened exactly, but having just written the post about Christmas covers around the world and the history back in amongst them, I am excited to see, because I think it's just another way to know that the season's come around again. And I hope, I say this every year, I'm sure, but I really hope it does mean that a few more of these find their way into Christmas presents and Santa stockings and that sort of thing around Australia, because it just gives that Christmassy vibe to it. Exciting to see Dudley say that he sees that being a tradition going forward, and the only reason it stopped for a couple of years is because the artists didn't get the memo, sort of thing. Yeah.
You have that in big bold type now to make sure that they all get the memo.
Yeah, so I just wanted to raise a couple of questions, and we'll discuss this more in our best of 2022, I'm sure. But there was only the one graphic novel from Frew. Would have you liked to see some trade paperbacks and as well? Or could you live with the one graphic novel? Or, and we've got some great stories, we've got some great comics and stuff like that. But I would have liked to seen at least a trade paperback once a year as well.
I think we've been spoiled a bit the last few years, to be honest. Like, we don't have to go back very long before where it was comics and only comics, and no one even thought about a trade paperback or a graphic novel. I agree, it would be nice. I think if they could be on. It was interesting going back and doing the survey, because spoilers, I don't start it from scratch every time. I go back and copy last year's and then change the details for this year, and you can absolutely see a pattern in the way that the publication schedule runs, in terms of obviously where the replica series sits, the annuals at the start, the Christmas specials at the end. But even there was some cover artists. There was about I want to say 2 or 3 cover artists who had the same, like the 14th book of the year or the 17th book of the year. And there was trends in terms of where the sequel stories sit and where the trilogies were placed and that sort of thing. So they're absolutely, there's a publication schedule at Frew, surprise, surprise. It would be lovely if they could fit a trade paperback into that as well. But it's obviously, it's a pretty busy schedule as it is. And we have got, we've got an extraordinary selection of stories from Frew this year, and the innovations in terms of covers and the paper quality and all the rest of it, what they're doing with the regular issues. As I say, to be saying, well, where's my trade paperback, feels a little bit like someone who's been spoiled for a few years.
Fair enough. Just what made me realise is getting this issue here, the Felmang one, is that I would love to get like a trade paperback, selected artists. Choose Felmang's best 5 and put it in a trade paperback, or
We got pretty close to like a Felmang one, a year or two ago with the triads.
with the triads. Yeah. Look, I'm being, I'm being like a child, and I want more, and never
You're a
satisfied
bit greedy,
and
Dan,
stuff like that.
Germ. We've been given all this sort of stuff, mate.
Got to keep feeding the addiction. The other question I want to ask is
way to spend the money you might have spent on the graphic novel or the trade paperback.
Yeah. The other question is, I want to spend the money anyway, so if Frew might as well take it off me. Do Frew need to publish the newspaper stories quicker? And obviously, one of the reasons we're asking that is because 2022 has seen a lot of Australian newspapers stop printing the Phantom. So for a lot of, and I can understand why Jim Shepherd used to do it like literally as soon as they finished, it was in a Frew story. And then Dudley has been doing the Christmas special, and then occasionally he tinkers with 1 or 2 during the year. But he's been mainly keeping them for the Christmas special. With now the current story not being seen in newspapers, is it a good idea leaving it the 1 to 2 to 2.5 years like we've seen here?
No. It's got to be published more recent. It's got to be more regular.
Yeah.
It's got to, like Jim Shepherd, to get them in as soon as possible would be great. There's one problem though, is when we've got like the current daily story, which is going like forever.
Yeah.
The conundrum is, do we wait till that story is completed, or do we go part by part? So that's a conundrum that Dudley's got to sort out one way or the other. But on the whole, if it's a standalone story, bang.
Yeah.
I think whether they do it every time or to try and catch up the 2.5 years, I like the idea of the Christmas special also being, a gathering of the newspaper issues of the year, but it should be of that year, so maybe they need to do a 100-page special, a Christmas in July, so to speak, and catch up a bit, because you're right, 2.5 years behind is a long way. But it is a challenge, and it's a creative team that they're not commissioning either, and they can't set any sort of deadlines or tell them about story lengths or whatever. They get what they get, and it's a real challenge, I would have thought, to try and balance that in alongside expectations. Like this reunion story is sort of, it's great that we've got it, but in a sense, it's kind of stuck in the middle of 2 other stories. It's pretty meaningless in terms of the context of this one book. It would be much better published with the stories that it's relevant to. But when does this story arc end? You're talking starting with Kit going to the Himalayas. Well, he's not back yet, so that arc isn't completed. So how long? At what point does Dudley pull the trigger and go, right, that's a book now? It's a real challenge for him, I would have thought.
Yeah, I'd say get them out as soon as you can. Like particularly now, you've got to play catch up, like you said. Having the Christmas issue as the newspaper issue has been a great tradition. But we're so far behind now between the newspaper stories being published to when we're actually reading in a comic book. So something needs to happen. They need to catch up. If they can get these stories out quicker, and then once the whole story arc is completely done, have the bigger 100-page or 300-page, whatever it's going to be, to catch up. Whether that's a trade paperback, whether that's just a normal comic but extra thick, that's up for.
Well, for what it's worth, the 2013 Christmas special featured the Sunday story that had finished in November of 2013. So that was Steve Shepherd.
That was
the publisher then, but that was, boom, boom. So they've fallen behind at some point for some reason. It would be nice to catch up if we can.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our Frew issues done. Done for the year, I guess. The next one will be at the start of the
which will be the annual.
No, there's usually one before the annual.
Oh, okay, so we'll review another one and then the annual.
Yeah.
In our January.
The New Year's special is Pirates in the Abbey.
There we go. In the Abbey, is that what's her name?
don't know. It looks a bit like Giancarlo's art again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. For those who are on YouTube and haven't seen it again, prior to the Abbey, 5th of January, Giancarlo's in colour. Yeah.
I'm just showing the bottom of the message from the publisher page, and it gives a panel of the upcoming story. And yeah, I reckon it certainly says it's in colour, and I reckon it's a Giancarlo artwork.
They've just had a little bit extra ink left over from the Christmas special. Put in for the next one. We're still looking for a Mythos comic reviewer from Brazil or surrounding places. Today we have the final issues of the year from Fantomen. So thank you for all who have provided reviews for us from around the world. You guys absolutely rock. We need you guys, so thank you very much. Our engine reviews for Regal 26 and Shakti 6 will be up on our website and YouTube channel after this podcast comes out. So we'll hand over to Mikhail now with his reviews on Fantomen. Thanks, Mikhail.
Welcome back for another Fantomen review with me, Mikhail. This time it is the last issue of 2022, issue 25-26. It's a thick one. The cover is depicting Julie, made by Henrik Sahlström. It actually got a bit of publicity here in Sweden when a politician wrote a tweet where she had mistaken Julie for the Phantom being a transvestite. So, yeah, she didn't read through the comic book, that's for sure. So, on the editorial page, Andreas goes through the year, and we did indeed publish a new For Fantomen story in each issue, and that was the plan for the year, so that's great. And then there's some information about Achilles Vegan Kickstarter that ended a few weeks back. Cool. So the main story, The Ghost Canoe, takes place in New Zealand. It's written by David Bishop and art by Kari Leppinen. And it features Julie. She's going to these white terraces as part of her medical studies, and there's some bad guys that will try to do bad stuff, and at the same time there is a volcano eruption, and a lot of action. Then we have I will skip a bit to use the order that was on the front page. So there are 2 Team Fantomen reprints. It is, let's go back even further. So it is Lord of the Jungle, written by Kjell T. Johnson and Claes Remerti, and art by Heiner Bade. And for me it's a bit of a modern classic. It was first published in Fantomen 4 1999, and it has been published in Frew issue 1225. Phantom and the Phantom and Tarzan often get lumped together as jungle heroes, and it's fun twist according to this that the Phantom is the inspiration for Tarzan, so I think that's quite fun. The other Team Fantomen reprint is Diana Married by Janne Lundström and Özkan Neralp. It's one of these early Team Fantomen that are not that deep in my opinion, and the Phantom gets a note saying that she got married. This is before they got married, so Diana and Phantom, so that Diana would marry someone else comes as a shock, so he goes out and tries to find her, and basically get fooled by this imposter that she's Diana, which seems a bit of a stretch. I think I'm quite certain that Falk have made a story that is basically the same story but told a bit different. Except for that, we have this Carl Schempe adventure. I love Carl Schempe, and it's fun to see another one of these in Fantomen. And it's called The Price of Innocence, and it's about this princess that makes a deal with a witch, and Carl needs to save the innocent from the other one. And other than that, we have some preview. The first issue of 2023 will be out in 2022 in December. Close though, but So it has the newspaper story, Croco Island West, I think it's called, and the first time the Phantom meets Savarna. That will be nice. And then there is another Team Fantomen reprint. It's The Slavers by Janne Lundström and Özkan Neralp. And we also get a poster, as we usually do, the first issue of the year. Then we get some more previews that are spanning the whole year of 2023. It's about the side comics. We will see Thorgal, Carl Schempe, Undertaker, Libertalia, that we have all seen earlier in Fantomen, and we will also see this Lavenin that we haven't seen. So that's great. See you next time, and happy Fantomen.
Thank you, Mikhail. Rightio. Now, before we handball over to Mikhail, we were talking about the current. We were talking about Sundays and dailies being published in the comic. Well, at the moment, they're still being published in newspapers. If you're lucky enough to find a newspaper close to you that has them, or you can go to Comics Kingdom; they have them as well. The Sunday story is Return of the Temple of the Gods. As we know, these stories started in the newspaper, then it's been gone to Team Fantomen, and now they're back again in the newspaper. I think Jeremy did a big old video on this, didn't you?
So if you're coming late to this story, maybe watch the video and kind of get up to speed.
It's been pretty quick in between. So we've got the line. I'm calling her the line girl in my head, or line woman in my head. Is
it from She-Ra? She-Ra, the new cartoon series? One of the girls, half cat saying, she kind of looks a bit like that. I love this here of Devil and her growling at each other.
Yeah, I remember that in messages. You enjoyed that one. So finally come in contact with one of these people, or say people, or creatures is probably not the right word, but
well, they've been called beast people. I think people's nicer than beast people. Yeah.
I'm wondering where they come from, because she looks very human. She's wearing very much human clothes. To me, that doesn't sound like one of these.
Has a cleaned gun that she knows how to use, and
there's been some sort of. I reckon she was human at one stage, and she's been mixed up with the creatures, and there's some sort of cross between the two. I don't know what's happened.
Well, in some of the previous stories, they have escaped from here and mingled with society, and that's where the stories of the monster stories, like the vampires, werewolves, and all that have come from this Temple of the Gods. In one of the Team Fantomen stories, there was a little girl that could only survive drinking blood, and she settled in a place called Transylvania. Villagers tried to torture her to death. Read into that as what you will. There's also another story where it was a wolf-like creature that would howl at the moon. She must have. I don't know. She must be coming back, or she must be guarding, But I don't know. I really don't know where this is heading.
It's interesting. We know that Jeff Weigel doesn't do very much by accident. I think her clothes are like riding clothes. If you go back to 2 forward from here, Jim, I think it was the 18th, maybe, of December.
You're talking about this one here. This panel here, where you got the little buffy little side things.
Yeah, correct. So those look like jodhpur to me. And she's got riding boots on. Even the kerchief around the neck, the vest. It's all a bit riding. So I don't know. That might be. I might be overreading that, but I'm trying to get every little clue I can at the moment.
Yeah. Well, it threw me at the start because a couple of weeks before this, when she first comes out, I thought it was Diana again. Or I thought, like it really threw me. She's dressed, quite similar to Diana.
Yeah, I don't know where this is going. I'm intrigued. I didn't enjoy this series originally. I'm not saying that I'm enjoying it, but I'm intrigued. I'm still on the fence when it comes to it, but I'm intrigued of where this is going. I have no idea where Tony's going to take us on this ride.
It's certainly been a very interesting setup so far. So it'll be interesting to see what the payoff is.
Okay, and the daily, we are continuing on with the breakout. So for those who came in late, we've had Moz who's given his prophecy, and now we've got the Phantom actually going out and trying to rescue Savannah. Well, in today's, I think he's broken her out of the jail cell and trying to make a run for it. And things here were very, very similar to what we saw in the in Moz's tale
a year and a half ago, about 17, 18 months ago.
Yeah. I didn't go back to double check to see, if everything's, or how well everything lines up. But I don't remember this part. When he's all the other prisoners talking.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that either, but it is there.
Is it? Ah, right.
Yeah, because you're right. I didn't remember it. I thought, oh, okay, the butterfly effect's taken into effect here, but I was corrected on Comet's Kingdom nicely, may I add. That
Did you go back and look at it?
Yeah, and then I went back and looked at it. So what I'll do, so this is the 12th of the 7th.
While he's getting that up, because what cued me was someone said that they were a teacher. I thought, I don't remember reading that. It was the teacher in prison.
So this panel
there
here,
was a teacher.
A
teacher is in one of the jail cells.
I only downloaded this one, but this is from 2021 of 8th of May. That's
the 5th of August in America.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, they go back to front.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So 5th of August, you've got where that panel there, the middle one. Don't, Mr. She's a killer, don't take, killer, take me. And then this one says, I'm innocent as well. So there are some similarities. I've got, so this one was one that we talked about last time with the truckies, the helpful truckies. That one's very similar. Now, this is actually a little bit of a difference, which I've found is he's opened the cell by now in the current and given the gun to Savannah, and he doesn't have the extra, he doesn't have the shoulder, the extra gun belt. He does have the Indiana Jones satchel, but he doesn't have the thing across his shoulder, this one here.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have that.
Again, I don't think they're doing that by accident. This is a really good, for podcast listeners, this is a really good example of why you should be on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
Between 18 months worth of panels and looking at the difference between what we saw this month versus what we saw in August of 2021. So
all right, so I've found it here. So this is
I think this strikes me as being a Chronicle Chamber post, Germ, so you can see these panels side by side.
Yeah, or maybe even a YouTube channel or something as well. So this is the one that's just happened recently in December as well. So as you can see there, he's got the strap, or he's got the shoulder bag, and Devil's there. But 18 months ago or a year and a half ago, he's got the extra ammo clip, and Devil's not there. Yeah, so look, there's a few little changes that we are beginning to see. So I guess
how they all play out.
Yeah, so far the differences that I've been able to spot is he's got Devil with him. He's visited the veterinarian first. He's asked Savannah to leave him behind, where in the original he asked Savannah if she's given up on her thirst for revenge. And then the other one is that he hasn't got his extra ammo shoulder strap, and he's just got the Indiana Jones satchel.
I think with both those questions too, Savannah lies.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I do think it needs to be addressed, the differences, put the panels alongside each other, but I don't know whether to do it now or to wait until the end of the story. So
it'll be a wait.
Yeah, so I think we might wait on that one.
It's exactly the conundrum Dudley has as to when to publish it.
Yeah. But
we're just a few blokes talking about it. Rightio.
Yeah. But no, look, the story's progressing. I'm enjoying going back from the old, reading it with the new, and like seeing what's been changed and what's not. Now I know not everyone can do that, but I find that enjoyable, and I reckon this will be really good being published together, where you can then flip back
Oh, this has to
in
be
the
a
comic.
big issue.
Oh, you would absolutely put a post-it note at the start of the book where it was happening the first time, and a post-it note at the back so you can flip from page to page and really see the differences.
You only need to buy a couple of issues, aren't you? You can put post notes on.
Yeah, flick them at the same time.
Okay, very good. I wonder if they'll escape Gravelines by Christmas.
Oh, it wouldn't.
No.
No.
It's
Okay.
only 6 days out as we record this, so I'd be surprised.
On to the news.
Christmas, what, 2022 or 2023?
It'll be the Christmas special 2025. We know that.
Yeah.
That's when we'll get it. Oh, no, we won't. We'll get that earlier.
All right. Stephen's itching to get onto the news.
I am, because I just looked up and saw what the time is. It's just clicked over midnight here, so let's move on.
Yeah.
So news, unfortunately, the Kickstarter campaign did not reach its target. That's unfortunate. That was for the Phantoms, well, not Phantoms, but the map and all the
map and the little miniatures,
the little miniatures. The Phantom Bible has, well, that's been getting a little bit of commentary on it through fans, through creators. For those of you who wondering what the heck they're all talking about, you can check out our last episode, our last podcast, episode 237, and also go to, is it www.phantombible.com?
Yep, phantombible.com, nice and easy. I had one person ask me today, like, should it be renamed, Phantom Creator Bible or, Phantom Bible for Creators or something like that. It's an interesting point. And then I had another person give me a nice long, Ivan gave me, not our friend Ivan,
not Ivan, another Ivan. Yeah, I saw this message.
Well, held us to account why we chose the Team Fantomen origin of the skull ring and not the Lee Falk one. So it was a good question. He's raised some good valid points. Harmony on Facebook has raised a couple of good points as well, and questions as well to do with the Phantom with the walls. Is, we talked about it with Duncan about not having the 21st Phantom in the Second World War, even though that contradicts what Lee Falk has done. So look, it's definitely got some fans thinking. There's been one or two that have been a little bit overly negative for the sake of being negative. It's not going to have all the complete answers. There's going to be some mistakes in there, and there's going to be some bits where we're not going to be able to solve it. But one fan wrote it quite well, where he said it's going to stop future contradictions and future problems being arised. And that's what the aim of that is. So I thought he did that quite well.
I think that's a really good point. And I know that there's certainly one of the negative comments that I read that had a grain of something that I thought we could take away with it. And at the end of the day, like this has been put together for creators to, exactly like you said, to try and avoid future, to extend the gaps and stuff like that, to avoid future differences. But at the end of the day, like the Bible, there's a book according to Lee Falk. There's the book according to Tony DePaul. There's the book according to Gospel according to Clay Shrimathy. Of course, these things happen. They tell basically the same story from different perspectives. Some of them saw things that others didn't, etc., etc. But to try and find the happy middle ground, I think that as a resource for creators, you couldn't ask for something better to go, well, this is the vibe, and I'll take away from it the main points, which is what most people should be doing with the actual Bible too, rather than going on a limb here. But none of it should be written to be read as if it's verbatim, and you should take it as the sole truth. But anyway.
We won't get into that discussion. That's another podcast that we can start later on if you want, Dan. But we'll stick to the fandom on this one, I think.
Fair. Well, you were the one who called it a Bible.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on from Bibles to diaries and calendars. Now, Dan actually has this. He's got it in his hot little. Do you have it, Jerm?
I made the mistake of giving it to my wife as a hint for Christmas, so I'm hoping.
You're hoping it's under the tree.
I'm hoping it's under the tree.
You didn't actually. It's not like you ordered it and then handed it, like given to here it is. Make sure this is under the tree.
Well, no, because I had
reckon
some
I've got
other
to do that
things
next
that
time.
I purchased, so I think that might be the way to do it. Is get it addressed to you and say, "Oh, I accidentally opened this. This is supposed to be my present for the for under the tree." But look, in looking at them now, Dan, and I know where I'm looking at them half a world away over Zoom. They actually look better than what they did on the computer with what the scans that we got from Malin.
So you're looking pretty happy there, Dan.
No, cover the face.
Look, the artwork from Jermayn McPherson has come up an absolute treat, and I just love that they're not the same. That they're but they're again perspective. It's almost like photos taken 30 seconds apart or 5 seconds apart from different angles. You know, you've got the Phantom on the street, on watch, and Devil's by his side. I think it's
almost like comic panels.
Sorry,
it's almost like a comic panel. So you've got the sequence.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and just beautiful work from Jeremy. Just to focus on the diary, and I've done recorded a review of both of these tonight, so hopefully they'll be up on YouTube very shortly. Perhaps by the time you hear this, you'll be able to go to YouTube. Certainly before Christmas, it'll be visible there.
Put the pressure on.
Sorry?
Put the pressure on.
I could even put that one up. Yeah, just in terms of the internal contents, it's probably much the same as what we've seen from Malin over the last little while. You've got the left-hand side is a comic cover, and the right-hand side is your actual diary, so to speak. So nothing groundbreaking as such there, but what I really like is there's a lot newer Frew covers, including
that was noticeable just as you were flicking that.
The gold one, which I think was a really nice one to include. And when they did and I've mentioned this in the review, of course, but when they did the vultures, it's not just part 1, but it is also part 2 and part 3. So the 3 consecutive vultures covers were there as you go through January. So no, and a fair bit of thought's been put in. The Christmas special is on Christmas Day. There's Egyptian covers, there's Danish covers. It's not all just Frew. So yeah, it's a well put together book, and clearly Frew has had some level of support, because where are we? So there's the bit of biographical information about Jermayn McPherson as well.
Oh, that's nice.
And talking about his limited edition print, and then a couple of Frew ads in it as well, which I don't think we've seen before in a Malin. So yeah, look, it's a good quality book. It would be very usable as a diary for just your appointments and that sort of thing, not so much your journaling as such. Of course, this is not going to get written in by myself. It's my collecting one. I guess the price point is the challenge with it. It's $50. You know, so it's not a cheap diary. Anyway,
you want to be good quality at that price.
Yeah, it is, and it is a good quality book, nice and thick. Of course, the calendar. I won't go through and show every month, because on the back, you can see them all there. And I know the light's playing with it a little bit there, but you can see the months that are there. Do you notice a trend?
Yeah, all in his trench coat, all Mr. Walker guys.
All in Mr. Walker guys. So every month is Mr. Walker. There's a few where he's obviously the Phantom bursting out of it or changing into it, but it's a Mr. Walker themed calendar, which I didn't realise until today when I opened it, which I think matches
plays with that. Yeah, that really for me, that seeing that back cover where they've done that gives me a little bit more of a joy that it's that it's actually worth doing, because there's that thought that's with it and the care, and it's not just something slapped together. It's like, hang on, let's do a Mr. Walker theme.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I like that.
Pricey, $40, but it's even though it's smaller size, I think it might be my favourite Malin calendar that's come out of recent times.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and so they're only available to order from Malin, like from order form.
Yeah,
you can't get them from those calendar pop-up shops that pop up in
no, you can't, unfortunately, and that's
stores.
Just the economy that's that for Malin. It's just not price effective for them to put them in those stores, unfortunately, or in newsagents. So you need to email info@malin.net.au to get an order form, express interest in those. I believe that there will be a number of them available on the Frew website as well. But if you go there and the Frew website's sold out, then still email Malin, because I wouldn't be surprised if not all of them have gone to Frew, so to speak. So,
And there was a poster
Awesome.
that came with it too, Dan. Did you get that?
Well, there's a limited edition print of the diary cover. This is called The Watcher, is the name of the piece, by Jermayn McPherson, and there's a limited run of 100 of those. And I'm not going to talk about what the price of those was, but based on the price of the
$20,
diary,
wasn't it?
I've told my wife it was $20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Moving on for more Christmas presents this year, we've got the Perth Mint Phantom coin. Now, I've been hoping that, how you go into Australia Post and they've got coins and that sort of stuff. I've been popping to Australia Post a couple of times this past fortnight. No Phantom. I've found ACDC coins. I've found a few other things. Nothing for the Phantom. So I'm a little bit disappointed. Has any of you guys got this yet?
Yeah, I've got mine.
You just had to go down the road down to the Mint, didn't you? It's just in the corner.
I didn't, but I don't even know where mine is, to be honest. Look, I don't know where mine is, but no, I did get it. Look, it's nice. What I found interesting was that it was not actually an Australian coin. It was one of the island Pacific Nation islands.
Eagle Tender in Tuvalu.
Tuvalu.
I've never even.
I don't know where that
place.
is.
I believe we'll be going to do a review of that coming out as well. What I found the most interesting was the fact that it used the new KFS style guide. I'm not completely sold on the style guide. And this is like the first product that we've seen, this new style guide. So I'm intrigued by what fans think of the style guide after we've seen it on a product.
I have got the coin, but I haven't got it yet because, a bit like you, Germ, it's a Christmas present for me. I know it is because it's arrived and I've seen the box, but I handed the box straight to my wife and I get to open it on Christmas Day. So
this is what you're giving me.
Like it was more, look, if the kids say, hey, we should get Dad something Phantom, here's something you could give me. So So I do look forward to opening it, but I have the same fears as what Germ does, actually, because I'm not convinced by the style guide, and I didn't actually. It's, for me, it was one of those things that the compulsive completist collector in me purchased, rather than someone who looked at it and thought, oh, there's going to be a nice thing that I want to have on my shelf. So we'll see how that goes.
And this was a point raised by, I think it was Anthony Gillies, is that the style guide works for the younger audience, which is good, and I congratulate them. But I'm not sure if a collector coin is the right target audience for the younger audience, where I think mugs and shirts
collector, don't sell a collector coin short. Both my kids have actually got into it. They coins from different countries, coins that are have got some sort of little production fault in them, like an Australian coin. Apparently there's $2 coins that got certain marks on them, and they're worth a bit more than $2. But my kids have got right into it,
because these aren't your average $2 coins and stuff like these are like collector ones, which are
so they haven't reached that stage
people.
yet. But I can see the interest building already.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Yeah. Well, hopefully I'm wrong.
This will tick a box for them, Steve, because they come from Tuvalu, which I've discovered is halfway between Australia and Hawaii.
Well, there you go. When you think in the middle of nowhere, it's Tuvalu.
You're going to have to go there to spend your 20-cent Phantom coin. That costs you.
Need to be more Pacific. We're going from the coin now. This is the next one that I'm really excited about. This, seeing the images that are coming through here. This is Boss Fight Studio Wave 2.0 release. We've got I'm going off the top of my head, but I want to say the 11th Phantom, or am I right there?
Yes, the 11th Phantom.
11th Phantom. He's come out and he is more unique. Well, unique. He's separated from the other types of Phantoms by the way his boots are, his weapons and what have you. But what's also I'm really happy about, I don't know if you can be happy about pirates, but there's going to be a couple of there's a Sing pirate that you can modify and change up. So I will probably be buying 2 of the Sing pirates so I can change them up and they can have battles and that sort of stuff. So up on the screen you can see them now. You got the 11th Phantom there with his, is that a flint pistol? Whoops, page not found.
Yeah.
And his turnover boots, his cutlass.
There we go.
There he is. Worth noting that he's in traditional garb, not any.
Actually, what's
things.
that on the back? He's got the seams showing. He's got the little. He's got the little thing at the back.
Is that like a
as
bandana
well?
at the back?
Yeah, so it kind of looks like it's pulled up like a man bun or a ponytail type of thing.
Jeez, I love the detail on these. Like this, we've zoomed right in on a thing that's 10 centimeters tall. Look at the detail on that flintlock gun. You can tell that's the skull ring. Like I love how intricate these are. The cutlasses come out before with the other figures, particularly the Julie. But what I like about this, look at his belt. He's got a holster, if you like, for the cutlass, not just the gun on one side.
And then check the sword as well. There's a little skull imprint near the hilt on the sword.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And you can see
they've got laces.
The laces. You can see the leather like the imprint on the... Yeah.
That is a fantastic looking little toy, little action figure.
Oh, I'm with you, Steve. I can't wait to add this to the diorama. And two, you might need 4 pirates, really, because the 11th Phantom could easily take on 4 pirates.
Well, how many other Phantoms we got now? They need somebody to fight. Like mine are kind of set up there reading books and just posing a little bit. Now they're going to have people to fight.
Well, you've got 5 already.
You're saying that the Phantom is a poser, Steve. But yeah, no, you're right. The fact is that the Phantom, these pirates are interchangeable, and I'm kind of flicking through them on YouTube. That it's a great unique selling point because instead of the Phantom can actually fight different bad guys instead of fighting, Attack of the Clones or something like that. Phantom style or Phantom Menace style.
And what we know from Boss Fight, I think you might have said this in one of the chats, Steve, is that they sell the skeletons as well. And there's all sorts of different. They're so interchangeable boss fights. You can get other weapons that you could put in their hands and all that sort of stuff. So adding a couple of pirates in the mix has really opened up some options, I think, in terms of creating little dioramas or whatever on your shelves.
It's so needed. Like I've been scouring the shops to try and find pirates for for my Phantoms to punch or something, and there's nothing. I cannot find anything. So having these little fellas are going to be great. Now we can get some bigger action figures for our bigger Phantoms. The what's that?
NECA.
Have you taken your other ones out of the box yet, Jim? Your Wave 1 and Wave 1.5?
I've taken the Wave 1s because I brought 2, or did I buy 3 of those? I can't remember. They were originally for the girls, but the girls didn't like them, so now they're on my shelf.
For the girls. Yeah.
They're on my shelf where I work, and so every so often I bring them down and do a pose and move their thing and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. Look, these pirates, it's a game changer. The fact, and I really like it. It shows. It really, because all these type of figurines, like I know, like with the Garax one from the Defenders of the Earth, that's actually now the rarest one to find because no one originally brought Garax when they would buy Ming because he's the main bad guy, but they never brought the frozen Garax dude. And so this ensures that people will buy it. They'll, like you have said, I want to buy 2 so I can have two different bad guys, it's a great idea. I really think they've hit on a winner there.
Yeah. What's this next point here, Dan? What, Jim?
Hang on. Well, first of all, we'll just say, so look, there's no So it's available for pre-order. This is Wave
sorry, skip
2.0. There's no official date. We would, at a guess, say that it will probably be around February, March, i.e. the first quarter of 2023, maybe April. But that's likely when it will be.
You guys have pre-ordered in the past, haven't you?
I've pre-ordered from Boss Fights. I did it with the first Wave 1.0. And look, you can get it sooner. There's several comic book shops around Australia. There's Pop Culture. There's one in Mornington Peninsula, which I can't remember. I think your local comic book shop lists them as well, don't they, Dan?
Kaboom Comics in Toowoomba, they get them in. Yep. So
just go. So
he'll make sure he puts it on the agenda for you.
So look, if you go to our website, we'll have a link in our show notes. There's actually a place which lists all the Australian where you can do them, where you can buy them if you're from India or Sweden or Europe or and stuff like that. But I've just been getting them from an Australian dealer because it works out basically the same price, and it means I support an Australian.
Yeah, me too.
For the first Wave, I pre-ordered that one. But when it came to 1.5, I didn't have the cash when the pre-orders came out, so I just was patient and got them on special at Pop Culture, I think.
I'll be intrigued on how many Phantoms they release. Like the 11th is the fighting, pirate one. Are they going to do like a number one, which is, maybe they dress them up as like a knight, when if the battle in Malta.
Phantom Crusader.
Phantom, like you remember that story? Yeah, so you've got that. Could you do, maybe a Mr. Walker one as well? So I'm intrigued.
A Mr. Walker one would be great.
I'm intrigued where they're going. We've got Hero. Are we going to get a Devil? Could we get a Redbeard?
Or Jungle Patrol?
Look, I think...
Or a Jungle Patrol.
And this is a conversation for a different podcast, and maybe it's a podcast in itself, but I think that they would be in the conversation for the best Phantom product of the last decade. They are excellent, those little figures. If you haven't got one already, do what you can to get one, because they're great little toys.
So now I'll go on to the next point. What's this Boss Fight Studio PVC? What's
okay,
that?
So a while ago we talked about little mini PVC figurines that Boss Fight.
Oh, the blind bag things
that were in blind bags. So they're now.
Why did we write blind bags on the show notes so we know?
So would that be?
Yeah, no, he's right.
Blind bags just for Stephen.
Yeah.
Were they half the size? Were they going to be 2 inches tall? 5
centimeters? 2.5 inches. But they come in a really cool. There was a picture on Facebook literally 2 minutes before we started this podcast. So there's a really awesome box that they come in as well. So
with Phantom art on the box or no?
Yeah, there's Phantom art on the box. The question is now do you buy two? One to keep sealed, and then one to open the box to be able to open the blind bags to be able to get all 4 Phantoms. A box was $170 US, so that's probably about $250, $300 Australian.
Not getting 2 boxes at that price.
No, probably not. With the Phantom range, you have a Mr. Walker, 2 Phantoms, one in blue, one in purple, a Diana, and a Devil.
So it looks like there's also a Flash Gordon and a
there's Flash Gordon. So you got Flash Gordon, the Lion Man. You only have one Flash Gordon, Dale, Ming, and the Birdman, I guess you can say it. There's 18 in each box, and if you buy a box, you're guaranteed to get 10, and then you're going to get 8 doubles. So I guess the question is once you get all 5 Phantoms, do you stop there, or do you open the others in the hope that you get some doubles or Phantoms?
Well, I'd open them up just so I can get a Flash Gordon and Ming.
Yeah. Look, I reckon. Look, they're going to be priced. It's going to be about $300 to get the box and the set, but I think.
How many were in the box, Jim? Did you just say
18?
And 10 unique figures.
Yeah. So what does that work out?
Well, they're $10 US a pop.
I'd probably end up opening all 18, to be honest, trying to see how many I had of what I had, and then what I could trade to probably get 2 sets of the Phantom figures. It'd be what I'd be after in the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many Flash Gordon fans are out there that will want to trade, but it might work.
Yeah.
But then you might do that because they'll probably pop up on eBay and you might be able to buy them individually. Say if you're missing a Mr. Walker, you'll be able to keep an eye on eBay, and there might be someone, or you might have 3 blue Phantoms, and then someone might have 3 Mr. Walkers, and you can swap or go on eBay and someone's put them up there and stuff like that. Yeah, or Trader Joe's. So. Yeah, look, it's exciting to see that. I'm looking forward to it. We will do unboxing video, and then that will then go into the review of those as well. So that's how we'll do that when we get them.
To open all 18 of your characters in your unboxing video.
Well, I never said that I'll do it. One of us will do the video. Whoever gets the stuff first can do the video.
Okay, and last point of news here: Peter David has got a GoFundMe campaign. Now, I believe he's in bad health at the moment. Is that correct?
Yeah, so he's the writer for the DC miniseries, which we've recently seen with what Herms has reprinted, and then also the first series of the comic book series that Herms released as well, which was the one drawn by Sal Valuto. He's had some health issues.
Oh, is that the Forbidden City one or whatever?
Yeah, the Forbidden City, that's it. As we all know, the American health system is not the best. So he's got many thousands worth of dollars of medical bills. Last time I checked, that had all been covered, plus some for change. It's good to see a lot of comic creators, not just fandom fans, have gotten on board and thrown $10, $20, $100, or whatever, as a token of a thank you for the joy that he has brought to many comic fans over the last 30, 40 years. And so it's good to see that his medical bills are now being paid for.
That's great news, and we wish Peter all the best.
Absolutely.
Okay, now our last little bit, it is our Christmas episode. It's our December podcast, and so we've got a Christmas theme here. What is your Christmas wish or Christmas miracle? What would you like to see, Dan? If you had a Christmas wish, assuming we're Phantom related here, not just
Phantom related. We won't worry about the what is it, the world peace that they do at Miss Universe competitions, but purely from a selfish purple collection.
I think mine is probably just as unattainable as world peace, to be honest. But you said a Christmas miracle, so I would love to see the Phantom comic strip come back into the newspapers and be published readily for everybody once again. As I say, almost as unattainable as world peace, I suspect.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah, I can't top that one. I'd start reading the paper again. I haven't properly read the paper since the comics haven't been in it.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should do an audio grab for that and send it to Mr. Murdoch. Look, it's going to sound boring with all of us agreeing on the same one. So for me, we talked about it before. I would like to see Frew do a trade paperback in 2023.
Now, we've already heard this. There was a point here. Have you brought yourself a Phantom Christmas present? Well, we know that Dan's bought himself the coin. Germ, well, you didn't say it was going to be.
Yeah, I'm hoping the wife has got my not so subtle hints and got me the Malin Diary. I'm trying to figure out whether it's worth the risk, because if she buys it, it means I don't have to spend my Phantom money on this Phantom thing. But then you run the risk of her not buying it, and then you got to buy it anyway. So, look, I've taken the gamble. It paid off with the coin. But in saying that, I have brought an original Roth Golf's cover just recently, and so that's something for myself.
Very good. Well, I haven't bought myself a Phantom Christmas present, and I doubt that. Hey,
do you have a Christmas miracle or wish up your sleeve?
I get either the coin or there. That'd be great. But I haven't. That'd have to be a miracle because I haven't dropped any hints.
Yeah, you got to drop hints, people.
Yeah,
got to drop hints because they don't know if they don't know.
No, you've given me something to make sure I do ready for next year. I'll just keep a list out and just have it, sitting on my desk, or maybe not on my desk. I just say,
oh look, if you haven't brought me my Christmas present or birthday present, here's a couple of things.
Ange goes, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'm thinking, I know what I want, but why
Yeah,
I feel weird asking for it.
or you say, oh look, pop culture's got a 20% sale on at the moment. I haven't got the Phantom on Hero yet.
Well, I do actually.
Oh, okay, but yeah, I haven't got Wave 2.0 yet.
Well, if they came out in time for Christmas, that's exactly what I would have said. A Christmas themed story, that'd be a nice thing to see up.
Yeah, this was something that you and I talked a little bit about, Steve. And I was actually thinking about it with the back of the article that Dan wrote about Phantom and Christmas. Is there hasn't actually really been that much Phantom and Christmas. There's been a bit recently.
Do that. It just sits in the back of my head, and every year around about this time, I get this idea, and I think, oh, that would work, and then the next year, I add a little bit more to it. I should just write all this stuff down and just send it off to Frew and see what they say.
You should. I reckon there's room for a Phantom Christmas theme story.
Well, there is, because I've been thinking about for the last 5 years.
yeah, and like the really only Christmas themed story we've got was probably where the bad guy dressed up as Santa and started shooting people.
See the feel good story that you might be after, like it's Die Hard Christmas story.
Even Die Hard is probably tamer than that one. But it was, and there's been a couple of stories which you highlighted in there. There was another one. Sal Veluto did it, and then on the back, on the last 3 panels, you see people singing hymns and having Christmas presents and stuff like that. But that's really the only themed we've seen. So I reckon there's room for a Phantom Christmas themed story. Maybe that could be a wish that we wish for, is that we can get one of those for next year. And in that way, when Frew have caught up to date with all the newspaper stories and they're going, what are we going to fill our Christmas special with? They can fill it with a Christmas themed story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if you have any ideas, maybe Christmas ideas, maybe you've got a Christmas wish yourselves, or you've bought yourself a Phantom Christmas present to put underneath the tree, let us know.
I'd love to see a Phantom themed decorated Christmas tree. Hang your marks all over it, and
say all your skulls that you've got living in the backyard.
They did release Christmas tree ornaments a year or two ago. Yeah.
Comic Kingdom has released them for the last 2 years, but they're glass and they're like $40 each.
40 American dollars.
Yeah, 40 American before shipping, so it's about $100 for a little glass.
Yeah, I don't think I could say.
I think the best way you can do it is just make gingerbread men, and then get purple icing and make your phantoms.
There you go.
So if you do any Phantom themed gingerbread men, we would love to see some photos.
Or any type of Phantom theme with your Christmas celebrations over the next week or so. It'd be great to see. Share them on our socials. If you want to be notified of new articles, ensure you either follow us on social or sign up with your email address, and you'll be emailed as soon as something new is posted on our website. You can subscribe to us via YouTube or through your favorite podcast apps, including iTunes or Spotify.
In touch until the new year, which I think will be our best of 2022 after Christmas and New Year. And listeners, we've got one more podcast coming up, but which will be after Christmas. So this will be the last time you hear us. So on behalf of, from me, I'm sure the guys will give a shout out as well, but Merry Christmas. Merry Fantoming, stay safe, enjoy your holidays.
Exactly what Jerm said. Merry Fantoming, everybody. I hope it's a cracker.
Merry Fantoming, one and all. Hope you have a wonderful break, wonderful Christmas, and a fantastic New Year. And looking forward to Australia brushing South Africa in the Boxing Day Test.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride.